And I brought up some of my more, how shall I describe it, disturbing behavior when I was younger and I was addicted to alcohol and drugs. Now, I haven't had any alcohol and drugs for 38 years. That's a long time. And I'll tell you what did it finally. My son had just been born. He was about 6, 7 months old, and he was still in an infant seat in the car. It was Sunday afternoon, and we were out for a ride, my wife and little boy and I. And I, of course, had to stop at the Last Chance Saloon. What a great name, for somebody like me. The Last Chance Saloon. And we went in, of course. I ordered a beer, Miller High Life, as always. And my wife stepped away for just a couple of minutes. But about halfway through that beer, I turned to my left, and there was my little boy in his infant seat, perched on a bar on a Sunday afternoon. Something about that struck me. Moment of clarity? I don't know. God tapping me on the shoulder and say, hey, bud, this isn't the way for you. I have other plans for you. I don't know. But something about that sight of my little boy, maybe 6 months old, sitting on a bar on a Sunday afternoon, trying to learn how to move his hands and feet, and trying to learn how to talk. I put that beer back on the bar. I drank it, of course. Can't ever waste anything. There's probably 1 million children in China that want my beer. Those sort of things are still in my head, your folks tell you when you're a little kid. There's a lot of starving children in China that would just love to eat this stuff. Well, give them my spinach then, Mom. There was just something about that was it. That was just my day. That was the last day. Hopefully it's the last day forever. I guess I'm telling you this because Kevin and I made it sound fun to be maxed out in the middle of the day, or so blasted that he wound up on the lawn over in his house over in Moreland when he lived over there 1,000 years ago. That was back in the 70s. I'm not trying to make light of addiction. I can talk that way about it now with great relief that it's over. And I know there's always a way, should I forget who I am, that I can come back and redraw my map once again, the way back to sanity. Because believe me, a lot of you people know, listening to me, being a drunk and a drug addict is not sane. It's crazy. People who are like that ruin the lives of others. Of course, I didn't know it at the time, but I've seen so many attractive young women. I usually, it doesn't happen every time, but it's usually the man in the house who's screwed up somehow. Seen many attractive young women who married this great guy, maybe a top athlete, maybe a top student in school, and he's just a miserable drunk. Hardly takes a shower, hardly changes his clothes, and she just doesn't know. And of course, the worst part of it, she'll think it's something she did, It's nothing anybody does. I just got a taste for the stuff, I'll tell you. I'll tell you this quick story and I'll get off this. I'm just telling you this because I want you to be sure to know that I'm well aware of what alcoholism and drug addiction is. I don't take it lightly. I feel a sense of empathy for any family and individual struggling with it. But I can laugh about it now over the buffoon that I was. Because in the end, that's all there is. You're just a buffoon. Nobody wants to be around you. You're drunk all the time. Who wants to be around somebody who's drunk all the time? Nobody, as it turned out. Fortunately, I stopped drinking before all that happened, stopped the dope. Nothing like some amphetamines for a guy with a drinking problem. I could drink for 3 days without sleeping. Of course, the burn and crash was awful, but that's another story altogether. But I can laugh about it now because there's a lot of really dumb things I did and drunken things I did and a lot of really embarrassing things that I did. It became necessary for me to be man enough to face those things. And that's not an easy thing when you're at the bottom. But you have to be able to face yourself and not as anything else. You know, drinking made me feel like John Wayne, 10 feet tall and bulletproof. The rest of the world looked at me and saw Otis Campbell from the old Andy Griffith show. Somebody was always drunk and, I'm sorry I broke your heart, mother. You know, that sort of thing. Anyway, that's enough of my booze stories for today, booze and drug stories, because believe me, I must have drank an ocean of booze, and I never met a pill I didn't like, a pill or powder or any doggone thing. So that's why I'm still here and others aren't. And never really felt better in my life, although I do have trouble walking, and I'm short of breath still from the COVID thing last fall. But you know, I've seen some wonderful things. I was there when all 3 of my grandchildren were born. I got up this morning and looked out at a bright new day. Just a perfect day. I would have missed all those things. I would have missed all those things. And I could experience it like a grown man. When the phone rang at 2:30 in the morning and my son was in Iraq, and I'd spent the evening watching the news of IEDs blowing up armored vehicles over in Iraq. When that phone went off at 2:30 in the morning, I sat straight up in bed. There wasn't any need for me to gently wake up or roll over a couple times. I sat right up in bed. I went over, I rushed over. We didn't have cell phones then, or I didn't have one with me at the time. It was my home phone. And I rushed over to the home phone, picked up the phone, and it was my son. And he was calling me from Iraq and said, Dad, there's been an IED explosion and I've been wounded, but I do want you to know I'm all right. I'm calling you, Dad, because in a couple of hours, a Marine Corps officer from Des Moines is going to call you and tell you I've been wounded. He's not going to tell you anything other than that. And I know you, Dad. You'll get right in your car and drive to Des Moines and start kicking down doors at Marine Corps headquarters until you found somebody that would tell you that I'm all right. Speaking in my son's voice. He was right, of course. He was right. That's exactly what I would have done. But I'm telling that story not for any kind of sympathy or any. I mean, there's nothing to be sorry for. I'm just telling you that story because I could feel all those things. I could live those things. The tension, the attention actually shifted from me to my son. Are you okay, son? What's going on? And he said, you know, he's going to be fine. He's going to be off duty for a while, but he was fine. Of course, the Marines, that's what they'll say. The Marines are in a world of their own, I tell you. Could blow off their leg. Yeah, I got a little problem here with my leg, but I'll be all right. I can go out there again. Oh, man. In other words, I was spared a miserable death, an early miserable death. You know, I was 28 years old and had cirrhosis of the liver. You don't get cirrhosis of the liver from having a martini every now and then. You pound on that sucker good, and then you get cirrhosis of the liver. In fact, I went to a doctor not too long ago, within the last year, who examined me, and he pushed on my liver and said, how much you drinking? And I said, I haven't drank in years and years. And he said, well, you still killed part of your liver. The liver regenerates, but you must have killed that part good. I don't know. I had a lot of fun, and I would have missed it. I had a lot of fun, and I would have missed it. I know there's plenty of people, the vast, vast majority of people out there have a couple of beers or get hammered every now and then. Doesn't bother them at all. Bothered me more than I thought. And to all of you who had a few over Memorial Day, good for you. And I'll salute you with my bottle of Diet Pepsi. I will toast you with my cup of coffee. But I ain't even diving into that damn Jack Daniels again, I'll tell you that. Me and Jack, we just don't get along. I really thought we did, but I guess we really don't. So that's that story. But I do get a little emotional, and you're catching some of the residual of it over Memorial Day. A couple of young men I knew, fine young men, brave young men, funny guys, great guys. Girls loved them. Died at the age of 19, 20. I knew a couple of them personally. And I think of them every Memorial Day. Of course. And that's been 50 years ago. 50 years ago? Did that just come out of my mouth? That can't be 50 years ago, can it? Anyway, I'm going to try to see if Pastor Austin Hill, the First Presbyterian Church, can come over here in the 4 o'clock hour. Dr. Lee Heeb will be here right after the news at 3 o'clock. And this is what if you're having trouble following me around in this last 20 minutes, first of all, I thank you for staying with me while I reminisced over good things and bad. But it's all just part of the same jumble as far as I'm concerned. Dr. Heeb wants to talk about nanobiotechnology. You know what I know about that subject? Zero. I don't even know what it is. If somebody knows what nanobiotechnology is, please give me a call, 955-1400. That's 955-1400. Can you do that? Would you do that? Saw something livable to shift gears completely. I saw something interesting in the Des Moines Register. It was by a columnist from Virginia. And I have just enough time. Well, I'm going to read the thing to you if you don't mind, but because this is the real problem. It isn't a black, white. Well, certainly there's racism in our country, but the real problem is that some live in unbelievable wealth and some live in abject poverty, even though they work like dogs. So the title of this article is "Livable Wages, Not Workers, Are What's Missing." Because Iowa always has a shortage of workers, you know. Actually, if you increase the supply of workers, the wage scale goes down, but, you know, that's what they want. Competition for labor, but not for them. Socialism for them, capitalism for you. See how that works out? Anyway, this is the way the article starts. In 1994, I joined the workforce. Now, this is a young woman. In 1994, I joined the workforce when I got a job at a restaurant in Cedar Falls. I thought I'd be wealthy when I found out I was going to make a minimum wage of $4.65 an hour, or about $8.35 in 2021 dollars. The work couldn't be that difficult if it paid minimum wage, right? Although I was only 16, the job was physically demanding. I bust trays of dirty dishes nonstop. I lifted multiple racks of glasses and heavy boxes at a time without proper instruction. Taking out the trash and changing the soda syrup canisters physically required 2 people. To this day, I have scars on my forearms from kitchen accidents, even though minors weren't allowed to operate the stoves and ovens. Whenever I was in the public-facing part of the restaurant, management required me to have a smile on my face constantly, making me look unhinged. Managers sided with the customers every time because no matter what they said, customers are why we have a paycheck. There's another reason. Let me just interject. It's easy to replace the employees. Fire them, get rid of them, get another one. It's not so easy to get another customer once you take them off. We don't usually say that. We say customers are why you have a paycheck. Back to the article. The lone exception was when a man threatened to shoot everyone over his pie options. Customers threw tantrums over minor issues such as waiting for a pot of coffee to be brewed or the price of a side dish going up 5 cents. Male patrons frequently sexually harassed me, asking me for my phone number and provided unsolicited critiques of my body. One man recognized me outside of work, but I avoided him because he scared me. He complained to my manager, who threatened me with a write-up for poor customer service. The worst part of that job was the paltry monetary incentives for workers to avoid filing workers' compensation claims. Every month, management drew names for the safety pyramid. If at the end of the month no one had had an accident that required outside medical care, we were paid a few extra dollars. I'll get back to this. We're going to have to go to the news now. But I don't think we have a shortage of workers.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Can they bridge the gap on infrastructure? I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Another face-to-face effort today at the White House. Fox's Jared Halpern is live in Washington.
President Biden and West Virginia Republican Shelley Moore Capito are meeting in what's considered a critical week for an infrastructure agreement.
Patience is not unending, and he wants to make progress. His only line in the sand is inaction.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the ongoing discussions with Capito, who is leading Republican negotiations, demonstrates an eagerness for bipartisan work. Still, the two sides remain far apart on the size and scope after trading offers and counteroffers and proposing different ways to pay for infrastructure investments. Lisa.
Thanks, Jared. President Biden urging the nation again to declare independence from COVID.
If you get a shot this week, you can be fully vaccinated by July 4th, by the week of July the 4th.
States and companies keep offering new incentives to get a shot. The president directing his latest appeal in part to those under age 40. The White House says the president has launched a rapid strategic review of the ransomware attack on meat supplying giant JBS, one of several believed to be linked to Russian hackers. Fox's Jennifer Griffin has more on this.
The president was asked whether he would retaliate against Russia. He said he is looking closely at the situation. The cyber attack on the world's largest meat supplier comes less than a month after the Colonial Pipeline hack. At the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki says these ransomware attacks have been rising in recent weeks and says it will come up at the upcoming summit between Biden and Putin in Geneva.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. President Biden is scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin 2 weeks from today. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey everybody, Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Companies. Last year, we saw historically low mortgage interest rates. In fact, over 1 million homeowners took advantage of refinancing or buying a new home with Rocket Mortgage. What you may not know is that interest rates are already starting to increase again, and it's likely that trend is only going to continue. Our team of experts is standing by to help you save before rates go up. With an official mortgage review from Rocket Mortgage, you'll see just how much money you could save by making a move right now. Don't look back over these next few weeks and wish that you had taken action. You could save hundreds on your mortgage payments or pay off your home loan earlier than planned. You could even take cash out of your home to pay off high-interest debt, complete home repairs, or bulk up on an emergency fund. When you want to secure a low rate, Rocket can. Call 833-8-ROCKET or visit rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
A Florida school board votes to change the names of 6 schools named after Confederate leaders.
The emotional community debate ahead of the Duval County board vote lasted months. And in the end, despite some no votes, the board went ahead and renamed 5 schools. For example, Stonewall Jackson Elementary will be renamed Hidden Oaks. Robert E. Lee High will become Riverside. Board member Dr. Kelly Coker explained why she thought the names should change.
To continue to maintain the names of those schools has understandably caused a tremendous amount of emotional pain to a large segment of the Jacksonville community.
Some who voted no cited their opposition to using district funds and taxpayer dollars that it will take to make the name changes. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The nationwide eviction moratorium announced by the CDC during the pandemic stands. A federal appeals court panel today leaving that residential eviction ban in place by refusing to lift a lower court's stay of a ruling that declared the ban unlawful, a fight centering on the CDC's authority. The moratorium is set to expire June 30th and has income limits. Walmart tops the Fortune 500 list of the largest U.S. companies for the 9th year in a row.
The world's biggest retailer was one of many companies on the list that saw a bump during the pandemic. Walmart's e-commerce sales spiked 79% as shoppers took advantage of its shipping and curbside pickup options. The shift toward online shopping during the outbreak also naturally gave Amazon a boost, helping the online retailer hold on to its number 2 spot for the 2nd year in a row. Apple rounded out the Fortune 500's big 3 by revenue, but it ranks number 1 as the most profitable company by being valued at well over $1 trillion.
Fox's Hillary Barsky. On Wall Street, stocks finish higher after being mixed for the session. The Dow up 25 points. The NASDAQ also finishing in the green. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The former leader of an Iowa charity organization has entered a guilty plea on multiple charges stemming from embezzlement. 40-year-old Jennifer Woodley is the former CEO of Make-A-Wish, Iowa. She was arrested earlier this year on 2 counts of first-degree theft and 1 count of fraudulent practices. Woodley admitted to making unauthorized charges on the foundation's credit card and giving herself additional unapproved financial compensation. The estimated amount that Woodley embezzled is said to be around $40,000. Jennifer Woodley's husband, Matt, is a former Drake assistant basketball coach and currently serves as an assistant basketball coach at Wake Forest University. The couple had moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina last year when Matt was hired to be part of the coaching staff at Wake Forest. The FBI has now joined the search for a missing Iowa boy. 11-year-old Xavier Harrelson of Montezuma was last seen Thursday of last week. A candlelight vigil for the boy was held on Monday night. Harrelson was reported missing by a family friend after she spoke to his mother. Harrelson was missing during his 11th birthday this past holiday weekend. The Iowa DCI and local law enforcement in the Montezuma area have been searching for Harrelson since they were made aware of his disappearance. A Buena Vista County man is facing charges of alleged child abuse. The original allegations came about after injuries were discovered after a custody exchange of a 2-year-old child. The Storm Lake Police Department and the Iowa DHS launched an investigation into 28-year-old.
Is that you, Lee?
Yeah. Am I on the wrong line? You there? Mike?
I'm right here. There we go. I got to get on my
Okay,
button.
there we go.
All right. Okay. So give me just about 60 seconds. We'll be right with you.
With daytime highs approaching 81. Winds out of the southwest 5 to 10 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet. Tonight, lows around 57. A blend of clouds and sun. Tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 86. Low 90s Friday and Saturday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 81.
What you doing?
Just doing a little spring cleaning. So I thought I'd start out in the garage and then look under the sink. There's so much junk. What am I going to do with all this stuff?
Call Household Hazardous Material Collection Center to schedule an appointment to bring your items in. They'll take